Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby. This is part 2 of the Taekwon skills review and demonstrations. Which skill will be great for PvE and PvP? Stay tuned to find out. In part 1, I covered Taekwon and Star Emperor skills. In part 2, I'll be covering the Apocalypse and Aesir Monument skills. If you missed part 1, a link will be in the description. First are Apocalypse skills. The best way to understand the Apocalypse skills is to understand the two major stances. On the left is the Sun and Moon stance, which focuses on this skill. On the right is the Star stance, which focuses on this skill. I'll begin with the left side. First is rotation of Sun and Moon. This skill will make more sense once you see it in action. Basically, you have a disc on your back that is either Sun or Moon. The disc splits into 5 areas, and you'll do different damage depending on where the icon is. The highest damage is in the middle. The disc also lasts 30 seconds before it switches from Sun to Moon or vice versa. The skills you can use also depends on whether you're on Sun or Moon. If you see the back of your character as orange, then you're in Sun mode and you can use the 2 highlighted Sun skills. If you see the back of your character as blue, then you're in Moon mode and you can use the 2 highlighted Moon skills. Next, I'll show the damage difference, which depends on where the icon is on the dial. First it hits for 11.7 million, then 15.6 million. At the top it'll hit for 23.5 million. Then as it goes back down again, the damage will decrease. Personally, I find that timing this can be really tricky, so I can see this being very frustrating for people when the icon isn't in the middle section. Also, this stance can't be used when using the Star stance. Next is Revelation from Heaven. This will give you 15% penetration and ignore defense. This is an amazing passive. There are some classes that need to cast a skill to get penetration percentage, so getting it as a passive is really busted. Next is Red Flaming Kick. It deals 1800% physical damage and causes targets to enter a burning status. It hits multiple targets, although the range isn't very big. Furthermore, the passive Red Flame Kick sight lets you see hidden enemies within 6 meters for 7 seconds, which is great for PvP. For PvE, I only consider this good since sight and burning aren't very useful for PvE content. Here I'll show this skill in action. I'm hitting 2 target dummies with different strengths. The damage goes down as the sun sets. For the sight passive, I can't see Ghost Ring right now. I do the Red Flaming Kick, and then as I walk towards Ghost Ring, I now see it. Next is Sunburst. It deals 2800% physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters. It also gets more damage depending on your vitality, strength, and dex. I love these damage multipliers. The damage and the range are also really good. I think this skill is amazing for PvP and PvE. The passive Sunburst Flare also gives 30% more damage if it's in the center. Here I show Sunburst at the middle, dealing 50.7 million for a nice nuke. Once it goes off center, it goes down to 26 million. Next is the New Moon Kick. It deals 1800% physical damage to enemies within 6 meters in front of you. You also enter a hidden state for 4 seconds and can't be revealed. The passive is New Moon Kick Dawn for dealing 35% more damage while in hiding state. For PvE, I find this skill to be good. I don't find hiding to be very useful, and the extra damage also isn't that insane compared to other skills. This skill is amazing for PvP though. Being able to be in a hidden state is always annoying, and not being revealed is even more busted. Here I am hitting my dummy with the New Moon Kick, and you can see me going invisible as I enter the hiding state. Next is Full Moon Kick. This kick does 2800% physical damage and its damage increases based on your vitality, strength, and dex. The passive is Full Moon Kick Moonlight, which can give you 10% HP restoration based on your damage. Full Moon Kick is amazing and is one of my favorite skills for this class. I use this for survivability in instances, and having lifesteal is amazing. This is amazing for both PvE and PvP, and I think this is a really busted skill. Too bad it doesn't work while in this sun state. Here I'm facing the Fantastic Dragon. I'm near death and then do a Full Moon Kick. I recover for 4025,000 HP, which is quite insane. I do this skill again and recover even more HP. Next is Star Stance. The unfortunate thing about the Star Stance is the chance of lighting up the stars falls dramatically. Having more lit stars is beneficial. You also cannot use the stance with rotation of sun and moon. From playing around with this stance, I find the setup for this to be more difficult. Unless you have a lot of time to light up the stars beforehand, these skills' potentials aren't fully realized. Each time you use or trigger a kick, there's a 60% chance to light up a star. As stars are lit, the chance to light up another star is reduced by 10%. You also can't use this stance with a rotation of sun and moon. I find using auto attack is the best way to light this up quickly. However, if you have time beforehand, you can just kick in the air, and that will work as well. For the auto attack build, I think this is an amazing skill, and I'll discuss this in more detail as I go through the various passives and things related to this stance. Next, I'll show this stance in action. I select the Star Stance. Then I do auto attack on my dummy. You'll see the star counter in your status bar. I find it hard to see the stars are lit up from looking at the character's back, so I'll often just look at the counter in the status bar instead. I tested that once the stars are up, even if you don't do anything, they will still remain up until you die, use certain skills that gets rid of it, or switch stances. One super annoying note is that if you had a full stars before entering an instance, those stars are gone and you have to redo it again. For example, I enter Oracle Nightmare and now my full stars are all gone. Next is Meteor Phantom. This passive gives 10% attack speed and movement speed. I especially love the extra move speed, so this is an amazing skill. Next is Piece of the Stars. If you have 5 stars lit up, then you're immune to negative effects for 12 seconds. This skill is amazing if you have 5 stars lit for PvP. A huge note is that negative effects does not mean immune to abnormal status. Here I'm frozen in Oracle Nightmare even though I use this skill. Thanks to Volkova for helping clear this up. An example of a negative skill would be the Chronomancer's Space Silence. This skill doesn't work very good for PvE since it doesn't actually stop many things. For example, against bosses, here I try to get around the Fantastic Dragon's Petrify counter, but it doesn't work. It also doesn't get rid of the death pools that spawn underneath you. So just be aware for PvE its uses are quite limited. Next is Piece of the Stars, New Life. If the current date is a multiple of 5, then using Piece of the Stars will recover 5% HP every second. This is another annoying skill that relies on the date. This skill is good for PvP and PvE. I personally find HP recovery based on damage to be more busted. 5% HP per second isn't that good. Next is Vientiane Starfall. The more stars you light up, the more stars will come down. This skill looks super fancy, but unfortunately it also uses up your stars. I think this is a great burst skill for PvE and PvP. You could light up all your stars ahead of time and then hit someone with it right away. Here I light up all my stars and then hit the Fantastic Dragon with it. It sure looks fancy. Next is Vientiane Starfall Stasis. Your Vientiane Starfall reduces the movement speed by 4% for 5 seconds. It can be stacked as well. This passive is great for PvP and PvE. Next is Star Stance Meteor. You get a 15% chance to cast this skill during an auto attack. This is great for auto-attackers since VNT and Starfall hurts quite a bit. Next is Astrological Resonance. Each lit constellation provides an additional 5% physical damage bonus. This passive skill is amazing for auto-attack users. Next is Astrological Resonance Guardian. It provides 3.5% final damage reduction for each lit up constellation. This effect retains for 8 seconds after using VNT and Starfall. This is a great skill for both PvP and PvE. Final damage reduction is always good to have for survivability. Next are Aesir Monument skills. First is Star Retrograde. You return to where you were 5 seconds before you cast this skill, and you're immune to damage for 1 second. Anti-death is always good. If you can time this right, it is great for PvP and PvE. The reason why I don't find this amazing is you need to time this and it's only 1 second. Other classes have great anti-fatals, which lasts a bit longer than this, or it automatically revives you. Here I'm being hit by the chest boss, and then I use this skill and I go back to where I was 5 seconds ago and are immune to damage for a bit. I find the timing to avoid damage is quite hard with this because the 1 second window is really too low. Lastly is Devil of Sun and Moon. You can cause the darkness status for 10 seconds to your marked Sun and Moon targets. This is bad for PvE since darkness doesn't affect bosses. This is good for PvP since you can annoy people with darkness. I hope you enjoy learning about all the Taekwon skills. This class is definitely not simple to play and there's lots of timing. For those who don't like linear gameplay, this class is quite good. Stay tuned for even more Taekwon sneak peeks as I deep dive into this class. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe.